From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Good evening, I'm Andrea Nakano. Brian is off tonight. It may be hard to believe, but election season is already here. The California primary is coming up March 5th. That's less than 2 months away. San Francisco's problems are not easily solved, but some officials will be asking the voters in March to help remove what they say are obstacles to progress. John Ramos has the story.
Doom loop or not, whatever situation San Francisco finds itself in is largely of its own making. Some city leaders are acknowledging that as they push a set of voter initiatives that will change the way the city deals with its problems. 4 years after the pandemic shutdown, San Francisco's problems are not only known, they're right there in plain sight. And on this day, in the city's Japantown area, the mayor wasn't sugarcoating it.
We saw car break-ins, and we saw open-air drug use and drug dealing, and we saw a lot of folks die. We're facing a new kind of public safety challenge in San Francisco.
So some city leaders are kicking off a campaign for 3 voter initiatives that will address some of San Francisco's toughest challenges: crime, drug addiction, and the housing shortage. Prop E would change public safety policies, some advocated by the city's own police commission, allowing officers to once again chase suspects in felony and violent misdemeanors. It would also reportedly cut down on mandated paperwork and authorize police to use high-tech tools, including drones and license plate readers.
We have to do more with less. And the way we do that is to take off restrictions from the police department and then also allow them to use technology to help them in their jobs.
Next is Prop F, which addresses the deadly fentanyl addiction crisis. It would require single adults who engage in substance abuse to participate in treatment as a condition of receiving an already existing cash payment benefit from the city.
The opponents say that it's punitive because we're doing something. For me, in this city now, it's time for change.
Supervisor Matt Dorsey, himself a recovering drug user, says it would start to demand some accountability of behavior without being outright punitive in nature.
But it does need to have consequences, because what we're facing out there with the drugs that are so potently addictive, it is deadlier than ever, and we've got to do more.
Finally, Prop C is intended to bring some life back to the downtown. Advocates want to see some of the unused office space in the financial district converted to housing. But developers say the city's 6% transfer tax, approved by voters just 3 years ago, is a disincentive to sell properties for that purpose. State Senator Scott Wiener says Prop C would suspend that tax in the downtown area only for housing conversions that begin by 2030.
And we need to make sure that people are able to come in and do what they need to do with those buildings and convert some of them to housing, and that we're not letting our taxes get in the way of those changes that we need in downtown San Francisco.
All of these things together, our safety, our open-air drug use and treatment, our economic recovery, that is what's going to help us move this city forward out of what was a very challenging time during a very challenging pandemic.
The pandemic has changed San Francisco in a lot of ways, not all of them good. It's now being left to the voters to make some changes in both policies and attitudes that may help the city recover.
In Oakland, the group of residents looking to recall Mayor Sheng Thao say they mailed the paperwork to get the process started this morning. This could soon clear the way for a signature gathering campaign. This recall effort driven by growing anger over the city's crime problem. It's led by retired Alameda County Superior Court Judge Brenda Harbin-Forte. Last year, Thao removed Harbin-Forte from her seat on the Oakland Police Commission. Now Harbin-Forte is making the case that the mayor has been mismanaging the city's police department.
She continues to make mistake after mistake after mistake. It's simply poor judgment on her part, just absolutely poor judgment.
We've reached out multiple times to Sheng Tao's office for a statement, but have not heard back. Mayor Tao supporters say she should be given more time to turn things around. Meantime, that's not the only recall campaign that East Bay residents will potentially be asked to weigh in on this year. Backers of the effort to oust Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price have said they are confident they'll be able to gather enough signatures by a March deadline. They blame Price and her progressive policies for rising crime. There's a major wrinkle, though. The rules of this recall fight still are not very clear. This March primary will include a ballot measure that would change Alameda County's recall rules to match the state's policy. If it passes, it would raise a number of signatures needed to put a recall on the ballot. It would mean a later date for the election. Election experts say that could favor DA Price. Well, turning to weather now, a rainy afternoon around most of the Bay Area. Photographer and East Bay Bureau Chief Alex Montano got this video on 880 through Oakland. And a live look now over the Bay. A much clearer evening tonight. Most spots. Let's get to meteorologist Darren Peck. And Darren, saying the rain is behind us.
Yeah, we're done with that.
Okay, good.
We're done with that. But I just want to show you how it played out today, because this was one of those classic picture-perfect cold fronts that came across the Bay in a very organized line. It started this morning. This is looking back at around 11 o'clock. Let's play this through. From 11 a.m. in the North Bay to right about, say, 1 to 2 o'clock, right through the heart of the Bay. And then it got down to the Santa Clara Valley and cleared just around 5 o'clock. That stuff we were showing you video of happened as that line came right across Oakland, right there, and our photographer just happened to be driving right as the line came through. So now that that line has passed, if we're going to get any more rain, it would be because one of these little stragglers out here manages to have some better aim and come on shore. None of them look like they're going to. There'll be a few showers off the coast for the rest of tonight, but I don't see any of them getting on land. Here's how we did. Got about 1/4 of an inch of rain today. Santa Rosa, everybody else was about 1/10 of an inch of rain. Now that the rain's done, got to quickly shift our focus, because the cold air is not going anywhere that it brought with it. Tomorrow we have a frost advisory and a wind chill. I'll show you what it's going to feel like in the full forecast in a bit. Andrea, back to you.
All right, thanks, Darren. A frightening flight on an Alaska Airlines plane prompted a temporary grounding of the airline's entire fleet of Boeing 737 MAX 9 planes. Take a look at the gaping hole on the side of the airplane here, right next to passenger seats. Alaska Airlines says a window and a chunk of the fuselage blew out just a few minutes after taking off from Portland last night. The plane was heading to Ontario, California. Oxygen masks were deployed as the cabin depressurized.
Yes, we are emergency. We are depressurized. We do need to return back to. We have 177 passengers.
They said there was a kid in that row who his shirt was sucked off him and out of the plane, and his mother was holding on to him to make sure he didn't go with it.
How scary. The pilots were able to land safely. Only one crew member reportedly has minor injuries. The jet was delivered to the airline just months ago. Boeing says safety is its top priority. The company released a statement saying it agrees and supports the FAA's decision for immediate inspections of the 737 MAX 9 and is working with the NTSB with its investigation. Alaska Airlines operates at all 3 major Bay Area airports. We spoke with some travelers at Oakland who are flying Alaska today. One person told us she isn't too worried about flying.
Anytime we get on any plane, we're taking a chance and a leap of faith. They're going to inspect them and make sure everything's good to go.
Something similar happened a few years ago on a Southwest flight, but it had a deadly outcome. In April 2018, an engine exploded 20 minutes into a flight on a Boeing 737, shattering a window and causing a woman to be partially sucked out of the plane, killing her. A major California freeway is closed for the rest of the day after a deadly 35-vehicle pileup in the Central Valley. This happened on southbound Interstate 5, about 20 miles north of the Grapevine. CHP says 2 people died and 9 other people were taken to the hospital for their injuries. Investigators say fog may be a factor in what caused that crash. Up in the Sierra, there's so much snow that CHP was asking people to turn around and wait for the storm to end. There have been so many spinouts like this one, and so right now there are chain controls in place on I-80. Now at 6:30, it's been 3 years since a mob rushed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. President Biden, in his first campaign speech of the year, directly criticized former President Trump for his actions on that day. Meantime, Mr. Trump is leading GOP candidate, and this year we could see a 2020 election rematch, even as the former president faces legal and political challenges related to the attempted insurrection. Christian Benavides reports.
For Capitol Police Officer Thomas Lloyd, images of January 6, 2021 still haunt him.
By the end of the day, it was tens of thousands against hundreds of officers.
A sea of rioters stormed the Capitol. Some beat police, calling them traitors. Some chanted, "Hang Mike Pence." In the House chamber, a group of House members were trapped.
They came 10 seconds from getting to us.
A single shot fired by police struck Ashley Babbitt, stopping the surge. Over the course of 3 years, the Justice Department has arrested nearly 1,200 people, securing guilty pleas from more than half. On Saturday, a small gathering outside the Justice Department took place in support of the defendants. This week, President Biden gave a speech meant to remind Americans of Trump's involvement.
It was among the worst derelictions of duty by a president in American history.
I'm going to walk down to the Capitol.
With Trump running to return to the White House, he continues to falsely say there was election fraud, a claim echoed by the rioters, promising to pardon them.
Look at what's happened with the J6 hostages. The hostages, that's a horrible thing.
A new CBS News poll shows while only 30% of Republicans approve of the actions of those who forced their way into the Capitol, most say they support pardons.
Officials say they are still seeking about 80 defendants who remain fugitives, and on Saturday, the FBI arrested 3 of those fugitives in Florida on charges related to January 6. Meantime, Trump faces primary ballot challenges in multiple states, arguing he's constitutionally ineligible. Yesterday, the Supreme Court said it will take up the Colorado case and answer the question quickly. The decision could come by the end of February. Until then, Trump will stay on the ballot in Colorado. The former president will be off the campaign trail next week and back in multiple courtrooms. He will attend closing arguments in a civil fraud trial in New York and travel to Washington for federal appeals court arguments in his election fraud trial. A former police officer who was on duty during the January 6th insurrection is running for Congress in Maryland. Harry Dunn announced his bid for the state's 3rd congressional district yesterday. Dunn says he's thought about the January 6th events for the last 3 years.
This moment that we're in requires everybody to step up and step into their role in defending and preserving democracy. And I'm stepping into mine right now.
Dunn stepped down as a Capitol Police officer several weeks ago. He was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal and the Presidential Citizens Medal for his actions during the attack. As Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin continues to recover in the hospital, some new questions are emerging. A Biden administration official confirmed today that the National Security Council was not informed that Austin was in the hospital until Thursday morning. That's despite the fact that he was first hospitalized on Monday. In a statement, Austin says that he is on the mend. He also acknowledged that he could have done a better job of informing the public. Clashes in the street today as protesters in the East Bay once again vent their anger over the war in Gaza. The demonstrators waved flags and chanted as they marched from Albany to El Cerrito. Organizers are demanding that their city councils enact a resolution calling for a ceasefire.
We in El Cerrito and in Albany have to take responsibility for what's happening and ensure that our tax dollars stop funding genocide.
The demonstration was also met with counter-protesters waving Israeli flags. El Cerrito police say they're investigating after a member of one of the groups grabbed and then burned a flag from a member of the opposing group. It wasn't the wedding this couple had planned for, but they say it was well worth it. Francisco Lucas and Marcelina Bautista got married at the Wilma Chan Highland Hospital in Oakland. It was supposed to be a courthouse ceremony earlier this week, but Lucas was admitted into the hospital on their wedding day. The couple had been planning their special day for years, but the desire to get married increased when Lucas was diagnosed with gastric cancer. The couple says they are grateful for the hospital staff that helped arrange their wedding. Tomorrow night, the Golden Globes will shine brightly on CBS. And after months of a Hollywood shutdown, actors, producers, writers, and directors are eager to kick off the award season. Danya Bacchus explains how the show is doing things differently this year.
The red carpet is rolled out and table settings placed for Hollywood's first big party of the year. The 81st Golden Globe ceremony will be hosted by stand-up comedian and actor Joe Coy, who says he's received advice from past hosts like Chris Rock.
He said, don't do costume changes, don't worry about your makeup, just listen to the show, watch the show, stay backstage and be ready. If something happens, you're ready.
You're going to go out there and just have fun?
I'm keeping the door open. That's what I'm going to keep the door open and have fun and enjoy this moment. Hi, Barbie!
2023's box office blockbusters Barbie and Oppenheimer lead the film nominations.
It is going to be a Barbenheimer show.
Angelique Jackson is a senior entertainment writer for Variety.
I mean, these two movies led the nominations with 9 for Barbie and 8 for Oppenheimer. And because they are in 2 separate categories, comedy and drama, they really have a chance to shine separately.
Diversity is front and center at this year's awards. A person of color was nominated in each film acting category, and 2 women are up for Best Director.
It's really exciting to see this just vast array of nominees from this voting body that is now 300 people strong.
I love you, but you are not serious people.
On the television side, Succession leads the field, racking up 9 nominations in its final season, followed by The Bear and Only Murders in the Building with 5 nominations each.
So The Bear, of course, in the comedy category is up against Abbott Elementary, which was last year's winner. So there is a little bit of tough competition.
A star-studded lineup of presenters will be handing out the awards, including Angela Bassett, George Lopez, Michelle Yeoh, and Will Ferrell.
There are also 2 new categories this year: TV stand-up comedy performance and cinematic and box office achievement. The 81st Golden Globe airs tomorrow at 5 o'clock right here on KPIX and streaming on Paramount+. If you still want to get your news, our regular 5 p.m. newscast will be streaming on CBS News Bay Area tomorrow. Well, we will see you back here at 11. Until then, good night.